Out here in the beautiful Lycus Valley in ancient Phrygia, in the middle of Asia Minor, there are three very important biblical cities. There's Laodicea and Colossae, and we are here at Hierapolis. Hierapolis is a place where you can see the evidence of a very Roman influence. It's a big Roman city, but there's also Jewish influence here. I'm standing in the remains of a church that was dedicated to St. Philip. Philip, who was martyred in this region after he resettled in this location. One of the Jewish elements is actually right above my head here, where there's a Star of David and a cross in the middle of it. Below the church, there's a tomb that is traditionally associated with Philip, and you can see inside of that tomb, but you can also see some arches and a building around it where, again, there's a Star of David with the cross. Crosses are everywhere, but there's still a strong Jewish influence. Well, I want to take you to a passage in Acts where Philip is mentioned, but also some other members of his family that are important. In Acts 21, verse 8, Paul stays in Caesarea, back in Israel, at the house of Philip the evangelist, one of the seven. He had 4 unmarried daughters who prophesied. There's a long-standing tradition in the history of the church in the earliest period about what they call the 4 prophetic sisters of Phrygia. And that is a feature of early church life, that women as well as men were given all the gifts of the Spirit, and some of them had the gift of prophecy. These women were treasured as a source of spiritual revelation and insight for the early church. And that also has a very significant Jewish heritage. Think, for example, about Huldah during the time of Josiah. Or think about Miriam during the time of Aaron and Moses. In fact, in Jewish tradition, the idea of the female prophetess goes all the way back to Eve, who was the first to discern between good and evil. Regardless of the choice that she made, she had that kind of spiritual perception. This site gives us a chance to celebrate the Jewish heritage of the early Christian movement. It started in synagogues, it was growing with Jewish apostles, and as it had God-fearing Gentiles join them, rich in their tradition was the sense that God had called both men and women to be fully participants in God's grace and reflect His glory.